Hey guys, I finally got my local new friend, Joshua Church, that I still haven't met in person, but finally we're going to podcast and then I'm going to meet you in person.
That's right. That's right. Soon.
I am excited to talk about something we always talk about: cold plunge pools, cold therapy, cold thermogenesis. For the endurance athlete, we talk about recovery and repair, but also I talk on the show all the time about training yourself for today's race events, whatever this year. But I'm all about my future self, 30,
Mm,
40 years from now. How do I want to be living my life? And I think all the stuff that we can do, so-called biohacks now, how our life looks, it sets us up for success in the future. So you're the guy to talk to, I heard.
I guess so. I'm happy to be here. Thank you for having me on.
So what brought you into your business? And we'll talk about what that is,
Yeah.
into interest in cold therapy research and
Yeah.
science behind
Well,
it.
very accidentally, it feels like, and it's still kind of a trip to me. I like to say my cousin and I, who's my co-founder, like we accidentally started this business, and that just came from us being endurance athletes and wanting exactly like you said. I'm very big into longevity. I want to be able to do the things I'm doing now when I'm 80 years old, right?
Yeah.
And just searching for just continuous learning. I like to consider myself a lifelong learner, right? Student of
Yeah.
life. And so those learnings have led me to some pretty wild places. And somehow I stumbled across a podcast from this crazy guy named Wim Hof, and I was listening to him talk about his experience with the cold, and it spoke to me. And he was talking about how we as humans are responsible for and we're in control of our own health, happiness, and strength. And
Yeah.
that message really resonated with me specifically at the time. And so I kind of did follow the breadcrumbs, as I like to say. And
Mhm.
next thing I knew, I was on his website. The next thing I knew, I booked a retreat to Iceland
Oh,
with one of
wow.
his first trainers,
Oh,
an
cool.
awesome guy named Joran. And I went on that trip and I just dove headfirst into it. Thought, let's go experience this. And I'm from San Diego, California, and I will tell you, I do not like the cold. I was always hated it. I considered myself a sun creature. I went to college in Ohio for 2 years, and the cold, I had enough of it. But here I am now going into Iceland and going into the heart of the darkness, and I'm going climbing up a mountain in nothing but my shorts and freezing temperatures. I'm going into the waterfalls and into the freezing rivers and
Yeah.
cracking lakes open and going in. And it was just shocking to me that I found so much fulfillment and vigor for life and aliveness and so many lessons from that. So that's how I got into it. Was a lot from the mental side of things. And then I came back, and my cousin and I were training for our first Ironman triathlon. We were training for Ironman Florida, and we started doing ice baths, and we saw what an insane difference it was making for us. So that then it paired the mind to the body recovery element of it. And I
Mm-hmm.
was like, this is the most incredible, this is a secret weapon right here. And I know a lot of people are interested in it. More people need to be doing this. And we wanted to find a way to make it better for ourselves first and foremost. And eventually we were able to get to the product that we have today.
Yeah, I think I look back, I started doing Ironmans years ago. I'm
Mm-hmm.
now 50, but
Mm-hmm.
2001 was my first Ironman Canada. And I did races until 2012, until I was broken in 2013. Haven't been able to race Ironman since, but we used to, back in the days when I was doing everything I could to recover, I would get in a bath, put the two
Mm-hmm.
bags of ice I'd buy, pour it over with in a cold tub, and have the shower on warm water over me so I can kind of
Mm,
weed my way in there. And so we were doing kind of just laying bags of ice on our legs after workouts and before the race. I was doing everything I could to be ready on race day and then afterwards. But since then, it's obviously grown more recently on, doing cryotherapy or putting bags and bags of ice in a cold bathtub, as I did, or, there's the buckets, and then there's cryotherapy I tried, and
totally.
it's so expensive. And so what did you develop? And you said, you figured out the benefit, you felt good from it. And we'll talk about the
Mm-hmm.
science and the other
Sure.
multiple benefits after that. But talk about how you got this
Yeah.
product out there. It's
Yeah,
crazy.
so basically I went to my cousin who's handy. I'm not a handyman whatsoever, right? Like I'm the guy that's hiring an electrician to change a light bulb, right? So
Mhm.
my cousin Rob is the opposite. He's a tinkerer, he's an engineer, kind of handyman. And so I was tired of doing ice in the bathtub because it quickly became very expensive doing it multiple times a week. I didn't like the waste, I didn't like wasting the water, I didn't like wasting the plastic, and I didn't like the hassle of it taking me 30 minutes before every single time to do it. And so I stopped doing it as a result because I wanted more convenience with it. So one of the common hacks out there is what's called a chest freezer hack. And so
Yeah.
people buy these chest freezers, these meat freezers, the deep meat freezers, and you hack them in a certain way. You like caulk the insides and you fill them with water and you plug it in and it will freeze the water for you.
My friend Brad Kearns, I think, started that trend, or someone, he
Amazing.
copied someone, but Brad did that, did a video on it, and then went viral, and all these people tried doing that.
And we saw a Facebook group where there's over 10,000, I think it's close to 15,000 members in that Facebook group of people that are hacking the chest freezer. So when I saw that, I realized, wow, okay, I'm not the only one that wants cold water like this, but that was out of my pay grade. And and so I went to my cousin and said, hey, can you help me hack this chest freezer? And he was like, what are you, crazy? Like, I'm not going to help you hack a chest freezer so you can go fry yourself in there, because it's really not safe. And I hear some horror stories all the time about that because of it's not GFI grounded, and some people forget to unplug it, so that's not good. But also it breaks after a certain time. There's no filtration with it. There's no true temperature control. You still have to dump the water. Sometimes you open it up and it's a block of ice that you're sitting on and that's frozen. Sometimes it's not cold enough, so it's not built for that, right? And so what we did is we went to like an aquarium store and like an outdoor pool. We got outdoor pool equipment. We got the water pump. We got like an AC unit that we hacked to filter water through from like an aquarium chiller. And we got a water pump, and we got all these different things, and we hooked it up to this like Rubbermaid tub that we just kind of rigged. And it was this total science experiment. And we got cold water, and it worked. And so we were using that, and we were like, I wonder if we could make this better and better. And I wonder if we could make it portable. What if we could actually take it with us, load it in the car when we go to our next race? Or what if who lives in an apartment on a balcony, what if I could set this up on my balcony? Like, how cool would that be? There was nothing on the market like this. Nothing at the market at the time that was under $10,000. This was before the Cold Plunge, who's one of the top leaders in the space for at-home cold immersion, even before they launched. And so there was nothing that was under 10 grand. And I'm like, that seems odd. And we were like, maybe there's a way that we can make this a bit more affordable and accessible to people as well, and introduce this portability. So we just kind of tinkered in the garage as we were training, and we were building very low key. We both had jobs, and we were just kind of tinkering around, and got to the point where we found the drop stitch technology, which is that durable inflatable, like they make stand-up paddle boards out of. And we thought, whoa, how cool would it be if we could build a tub using that so it could pack into the backpack? And we got that in, we dialed that in, and then we built this all-in-one chiller, the first all-in-one chiller on the market, which has the filter, the water pump, and the actual cooling, refrigeration, and heating all into one unit that just hooks right up to the tub. So we designed that system and launched in March of 2022. And it really was the process of us just wanting to make this product better for ourselves and for our friends who were loving using it, and that we decided, okay, this is something that we want to share widely with the world.
Yeah, that's what I think. It's always the challenge when you follow people as Ben Greenfield and all these different toys that you can buy, but you need an unlimited budget.
Yes.
Like, I need the chili pad, and then I need this biomat, and then I need the PEMF table. And, it's like, yeah, I love all this stuff. Like my friend, I think he knows you too, Patrick, sells the PMF tables.
Yep.
I'm like, I demoed it for a week. I'm like, I wish I could still have this, but they're like $25,000. And
exactly.
I want my sauna. I sold it when I moved down here from Seattle, and I had this sunlight sauna. Now it's like, all right, how do I get a sauna up here that the coyotes won't eat? And
yes,
it's like, it costs so much money to have all this stuff. So I'm always looking for what you can do for free.
Right,
I'm in San Diego as well now, so I can't walk in the, I mean, I moved here for the weather. So we don't like live somewhere like Iceland that you could just walk outside and do ice cold therapy in the winter. Half the year you're able to do that for free. But if you are in a place that doesn't have really cold winters, and if you want to do this year round, and you don't want to waste water, like we are always on a water shortage. So I've never used our bathtub since we've moved here 2 years ago. We have this great bathtub. I'm like, I could do that and put ice in it. But then I'm like, I don't want to waste all that water for bathtubs.
Absolutely.
So having one of these devices, you can just pump up like a stand-up paddleboard, fill it with water, and then leave it. And you don't have to change the water because it cleans it and keeps it cold.
Exactly. And then you have cold, clean water whenever you want. And then the cool thing too is we offer certain payment plans to start. I think it's starting at $160 a month, 24 months, zero interest. So it literally is cheaper than buying ice if you're doing multiple ice baths a month, and you don't have to worry about all the hassle, effort, and all the wasting energy and resources as well. So that's how we did. And I so believe in the power of the cold and what it's done for my life and for my performance as just a high performer in general, and why it's going mainstream. And I think that it's a tool that's very approachable for a lot of people that that can be life changing truly.
Yeah, I want to get into that most of the conversation, but I'm always thinking about where to put it. Like, so if you have a balcony, you can put it out there, but where's a safe place to put it in the garage? So you're not going to flood in your house or in your backyard.
Garage, yeah, garage, on a deck. It's yeah, especially in San Diego, like outside on your deck or on your backyard or on a balcony or garage. We have a lot of people that do put it in like a a spare bedroom where they have their workout equipment and stuff like that. So there's not a risk of flooding, but if you want to, so if you want to have it inside, you can have it inside too. So yeah, pretty much anywhere.
One more question, then we'll move on to the important part. But if you have it outside and you have animals that hang out all night long because they leave their poop on the road. So I know there's in the paw prints.
Yes.
Is there a safe way to cover it? So if you have a backyard, you don't want like a bear or coyote or wolf.
Even though I'm sure cold immersion is good for them too. We want to keep them out of the tub. They, we have an insulated cover with locking buckles on there as well. So childproof buckles. So that makes it easy too.
All right. Just personal question.
Yes.
I know there's a party going on here at nighttime. So the benefits of cold, like as I said, and you said I like warm weather and I'm not very good in the cold, and I hear the benefits all the time of cold. So let's talk about what the main benefits are and how it works. Like what's the why?
Yep.
And then I want to get into like how to transition into a cold plunge pool, probably with the breathing. And for people that are wimps like me and who, if you don't have a sauna too, because sauna is easier to jump in.
The contrast therapy going hot to cold makes it a little bit easier. But so benefits of the cold, there's so many. And the thing I love about these benefits are they're clinically studied. This is science backed. Cold water therapy and ice therapy is some of the oldest forms of therapy that we've used as human beings, truly. And what it really has to do with is this key mechanism called vasoconstriction, or constricting your blood vessels. And what that does is you're going to constrict your blood vessels, your blood flow, and then when it opens back up, it's going to be flushing out inflammation and lactic acid. So when you get into the tub, all of your blood will flow from your extremities to your core to protect itself, because your body's really smart and knows that you can live without your hands or your fingers, but you need your kidney, right, or your heart to stay alive. So all that blood's going to draw and it's going to become super oxygenated, nutrient rich and dense. And then when you get out or when you warm up, that warm blood goes back to the extremities, and that warm and cold blood mix. And as that warm blood goes back, it flushes out inflammation and lactic acid and just boosts the circulation. And so that's the high level of where a lot of these benefits are drawn. And as a result as well, you're going to feel just a lot better. You're going to get better sleep. You're going to feel more alive, and you unlock all these the neurochemistry in your brain as well. So it's like we have a pharmacy in our brain that's ready to be tapped into. And so when you get in the cold, your norepinephrine or noradrenaline, which makes you feel super alive and alert and vigilant and awake and ready to rock, that spikes 530% when you get into the cold water. And dopamine spikes 250%. So these are neurochemicals. These are the feel good chemicals, feel alive and alert and awake and happy and good from doing something hard. And that's the trick with this, right? It's like, wow, that seems like a shortcut. It is a shortcut in my opinion. And it doesn't take long. It takes 2 minutes. Sometimes you have to do an hour workout to get that release, or 5 hours on the bike to get that release. And here's a tool where you can get that release and you can shift your state so quickly in a couple minutes. Just dunking your head in, dunking in, you're going to shift it right away. But it requires you to do the hard thing, which is go into freezing cold water, which is challenging.
It's a minimal effective dose is what we're looking for all the time, right? So we want, like, what can I get out of this workout or out of this hack or lifestyle habit that's going to give you the most bang for the buck, so I can continue on and have the best day ever.
Exactly. And I really believe as a startup founder and as an athlete and a high performer and just a human being, like I believe that it is the greatest hack too, because it is, I know that at any point throughout my day, I'm always 2 or 3 minutes away from just a shifted state, from feeling different. If I'm dragging, I'm feeling a little tired, a little cloudy, or, sometimes you get into those little kind of like blah feelings, which is normal for humans. Like, and we want to shift out of that. You jump into the ice cold water, you will shift out of it very quickly.
So I always like to look at, chronic stress is not good. That's my background. Too much of everything adds up and overfills our beaker of stress and leads to metabolic chaos.
Right.
So acute stress, and this has been a big conversation, I think, this year, people doing everything that they hear about and stacking this, stacking that. And then we end up just making too much of everything and adding more stress to our body instead of this acute dose to create a positive effect. It's called hormetic stressor.
Hormetic stress. Yep.
So, because I know some people are I haven't heard what's going on with this one person because he got in trouble, but he was going to do the cold plunge every day for the whole year. I thought, is it effective to do every day, or is it better to alternate days? Like, when is it doing too long in the cold plunge or cold bath and then too many? Like, is it okay to do every day?
Is there like a diminishing return?
More is not better.
And here, the thing I'll preface with this is every body is different. I know some people that love the cold and they'll be in the cold for 10 minutes every day, literally every day, and just absolutely love it and feel amazing with it. I know other people that have tried that and they get like adrenal fatigue or adrenal burnout because you are putting stress on your body, right? So everybody's different. So it's tough to keep a blanket statement with that. But the way that I like to approach this and the way that I like to advise customers, clients, and people on this part is it's a beautiful process to get to know yourself in that way. Like, how do you react with the cold? How do you respond to the cold? What feels good for you? Because I think so much we're looking for someone to tell us, hey, do this many times, here's your dose. Cool. Especially as endurance athletes, we're great at following the game plan. Like, give me the game plan, tell me what I need to do. I'll put my head down, I'll do it, which is great. And also, I think there's a big opportunity for us to start to coach ourselves and to be like, cool, how did this feel on my body? Can I give myself more of this, less of this? What do I need? It's putting that focus inward and asking yourself those questions. And so that's why I love the cold it's a mirror inward, and it's a very intimate process and intimate journey. So for me, even like, the science shows 11 minutes a week at 55 degrees water, as cold water as you can stand, like that's maximum benefit. It's going to be great. So like 2 minutes a day, 2 to 3 minutes a day, 5 times a week, couple times a week, 4 times a week, you're in the, like, that's great. That's where they've had studies around. But for me, like, I don't really time myself when I go in the tub anymore because I'm focused on the breath. I'm focused on the process. I'm focused on listening to my body and being really present in my body and listening to when, okay, cool. I feel like I've gotten the dose that I need right now and I'm ready to get out, versus like, let me explore, let me push this a little bit. Right. So it's a little bit more of that. That's the approach that I like to bring with it, at least, is like, let's start at the science. Let's look at that. And then let's get our own gauge for how we respond to this.
I am so on same way of thinking, because with everything I'm finding I do for myself and when I coach my clients is intuitive training, how we eat, this whole carb timing and what to eat and when to go to bed. It's like, listen to your body. Do you need more of this? Your body is innate intelligence will tell you what you need to do more of or less of, and make those adjustments. But so many people don't know how to be connected with themselves and hear what their body's telling them. And we override those signals. I think I did that for so many years. I would say I didn't get adrenal exhaustion one day in March 2013 that. It was for years. So
build up.
Build up. So I like that. So if we do this, what are the main things psychologically? Because people that are depressed, does it like boost your dopamine? And you said, like, if you're anxious, depressed, stressed out person, this is beneficial way to help psychologically. There's benefits in that area.
Yes. And for a couple different ways. One, I will say by, it's a hard thing to do. Nobody likes doing it, right? Like it's not fun going in the cold. Like, I don't care who you are.
We'll video when I go in, because
exactly. Like, we'll do it. I get you. You'll be good. You know what? You'll be really good, I think. But it's not an easy thing. And so there's something about doing the hard thing that, again, that like hormetic stress that is really valuable. And we get a lot of fulfillment from as humans. Like, we need challenge. We thrive on challenge. When we're not challenged, we get stagnant. When we get stagnant, we get depressed, right? So we need, like, I really believe that a lot of the most fulfillment comes from when we're challenged, when we're working towards something. As human beings, like, if we're not consciously challenging ourselves, like, we will be challenged by things that come up in our life, and challenges will find us whether we like it or not. So when we can seek out those challenges consciously, then we can be a little bit more in the driver's seat with it. So firstly, there's that idea around it. And the concept too, why I love it in the morning, is the whole idea of like eating the frog or doing the hard thing first, right? That the last thing I want to do when I get out of bed, when I wake up and I'm in my warm covers, is to get out of bed and get into freezing cold water. Like, that's the last thing I want to do ever. But that is why I do it, because after I do that, then I've flexed that muscle of willpower, and I've used my mind to tell my body, like, hey, we're going to do this thing, right? And then I go in and I feel great for that. So there's that first piece of that psychological benefit of building mental resilience and willpower and strength and fortitude, right? So there's that piece. And then I think more importantly as well is there's the pieces, what we're doing, especially if someone's stressed out, is we're recalibrating stress, what stress feels like in our body. So there's two types of stresses. I like to say there's like perceived stress and there's real stress. The perceived stress is like, I'm sitting here stressed out. My body's totally fine. I'm in an air conditioned room. My body's actually not, I'm actually not in danger, but my body, my mind is perceiving because I'm thinking about this email or this customer issue or the traffic. So my mind is going off. And the issue is that even though my body is sitting here safe and warm and cozy, my body can't tell the difference from it. So I'm getting that cortisol drip. Like my body is responding as if my life is in danger. So my blood pressure's up, my heart rate's up, right? This is all stuff that I can see you smiling because you're on the same page with. And so
it's my life.
Yeah, I love it. Yeah. And so that's how so many people live, is we're living in this perceived stress. But what happens is when you go into the cold tub, that's real stress. You're teaching your body, hey, this is what real stress feels like. Because for most of us, that's physiologically 2 minutes in freezing temperatures. And even if you're at 50 degrees, 45 degrees, that's the hardest thing we're going to do for ourselves the entire day. Harder than our workout physiologically, because we can stop, we're in control. Harder than the conversations we're going to have at work, the emails physiologically, unless you get in a street fight or run into a coyote or a bear in your backyard, like that's going to be the most physiologically challenging moment of your day. And so when we can do that and we can get our mind into that and teach ourselves how to relax into that, that comes with the breath work, which we'll touch on, but breathing into that, relaxing into that, and being calm in the stressful environment, in the real stressful environment, we're building that mental muscle that when we're out of the tub and we're in our day-to-day and we feel that wave of stress hit us, that cold tub in the day-to-day, when that hits us, we're able to be like, okay, hold up, I'm okay. Let me take a deep breath. My body's okay because my body knows what real stress is like. This is not real stress. I'm okay. And so we start to create this distinction between this perceived and real stress, and allows us, and I've seen it personally, I've seen it with hundreds of people, that it allows us to be a lot less stressed on the day-to-day and handle whatever challenges life throws our way.
That's resiliency. You're building up, being more resilient.
That's what it is.
I think I needed that when my stress came from running my fitness studio for 10 years. And that it's like, I didn't realize how stressed it was until COVID hit and I got to get out of everything and moved here. So I was like,
this is what that feels like.
This is nice to wake up and just go to the beach and work out and watch the sunrise. But I think that's important to say, like, just magic 2 minutes and you can create so many benefits from it. It's pretty amazing.
Right? I think so too. I think so too.
So to organize the benefits, and I wanted to talk about how to do it, and the breathing, I think I got to leave enough time for, because that's a huge topic in itself. But the fat loss, performance, and longevity are my kind of three categories or taglines that we focus on. So fat loss is talked about a lot for cold thermogenesis, for the brown fat.
Yes.
So talk a little bit about how you can get cold thermogenesis can help improve your ability to burn fat.
So what it does in a couple of different ways, and there was a recent study that came out that was phenomenal. It was published in Nature too, around this idea of brown fat, and I'll share what that is in a moment, and how in an actual human trial as well, how they saw that it prevented growth of cancer cells with the brown adipose tissue, which is phenomenal, cutting edge research that I think we're just scratching the surface on. But basically, the high level, and this makes sense to people, is when you get out of the cold tub, your body needs to work really hard to warm itself back up, because your core body temperature drops when you're in there, and our body wants to get to that homeostasis and wants to make sure everything's good. So your body's going to work really hard and burn calories to warm itself back up. That's why you get the shivers, right? You shivering is a little workout, and you're going to burn calories that way, and you're going to increase your metabolism. So your metabolic rate, you see metabolic rate increase from just going into the cold tub as a result of your core body temperature dropping and your body wanting to heat it back up. So that's number one. Number two is this idea of brown fat, which is fascinating to me. So we have a couple different types of fat. Most of us think fat and fat is bad, right? But we actually have different types of fat. We have brown, beige, and white fat. White fat is the fat that most people think of when they think of fat, which is not the healthy fat. Fat's not doing anything for us. The brown and beige fat, that fat it has a metabolic value to that fat. So it's like a furnace that's going to burn the white fat. And as babies and kids, we have a high stores of those brown fat, because babies don't have a shivering mechanism. I found this interesting.
Yeah.
So they don't learn how to shiver. So babies are actually great. Like, even sometimes little toddlers will come over and they'll like dip their hands in the cold tub, and their parents will be like, "Oh my God, it's going to be cold." And they're like, totally fine.
Oh, funny.
They have high stores of brown fat, and they don't have the shivering mechanism. So the brown fat, we store brown fat in different parts of our bodies, around our neck, around our rib cage as well. And that brown fat is like a really good, high quality, healthy type of fat, and it helps insulate us. It helps us keep us warm in cold weather. So if you live in cold weather, you spend time in cold weather often, you're going to have more brown fat. It's easy to build very quickly, and it's easy to lose also. But that brown fat is really helpful in burning the white fat. So that's why when you do the cold immersion regularly, you're going to build more brown fat, which is going to burn more of the white fat that you don't want. So that's a little bit about the thermogenesis piece there.
Yeah, crazy. I've heard of that, but it's always that you always just hear just the basic benefits are the brown fat, brown adipose tissue helps speed up fat loss. So, okay, performance gains. Talk a little bit about recovery and repair, but for athletes, especially us aging athletes who take a little bit more time to recover.
Sure.
How does this help us?
Yeah, so one of the great studies in cold immersion is showing the reduction in DOMS, or delayed onset muscle soreness. So that's something as in performance and athletes, we know you crush a hard workout, you're going to be sore. Like, you're not going to be sore right away. It's like that next day, or sometimes the day after that is when you're really going to feel it. And so there's I can't remember the exact percentage of the decrease in the DOMS that they saw, but a statistically significant decrease in delayed onset muscle soreness. So you're going to be less sore, which is great. And also it's going to give you an instant acute pain relief too. So one of the reasons I loved it is after crushing a long run, my knees, I've had knee surgeries, my ankles, they kind of flare up, my shins even sometimes. And so, you're kind of like hobbling over, and you hobble over to the cold tub, and you're in there for 3 minutes, and it feels so good. And then you get out, and all of a sudden, because that blood flow comes and goes and flushes out the inflammation, like, you feel great. You pop out of the cold tub and you're like, wow, I literally don't feel the pain anymore. And that starts to wear off over time. That's acute. Like, it gives you that acute response. Like if you're icing something, like icing your elbow or icing your wrist. So it's that similar thing, but that's great for performance as well, because it can get you to bounce back a little bit quicker. And then also in the days coming, your soreness is going to be decreased. So that's a great reason why it's great for why it's amazing for performance, why athletes use it for performance. And one of the things that we say at Edge Theory Labs too is recovery is the foundation of performance. That's what we believe here, and that's why we're working to redefine recovery. That's not just an afterthought, and it's not just a pillar of performance, but it's the actual foundation, like sleep. Like you can't function without it. The degree of what you're able to recover is the degree of what you're able to perform. And so when you can take the recovery seriously, and you can increase your recovery, then you're going to increase your performance as a result.
Yeah, it's train hard but recover harder.
Yes, I love that. That's a great one.
Yeah, I like that one. So we got fat loss, a little bit on performance. It's probably part of inflammation, and then longevity.
Yep.
How can we use a cold plunge? How does it help us improve the aging process so we are not blaming it but thriving instead of struggling?
Yeah, I love that question. And I'm sure too, and I'm going to do some research on this, because I'm sure there's some great studies around what it can do for different things. And I'm sure there's going to be even more coming out around things like what it might be doing for genetic health, telomeres, things like that. I'm not too familiar with any studies done on that right now, but I'll research some more on that. But I think that in terms of longevity, what it can do is inflammation is the root cause of most disease, of all disease, right? At the end of the day. And so when we can have a tool and we can be flushing out inflammation from our body and keeping and boosting our circulation, that's the other great studies they've seen with increasing circulation, and which leads to healthier heart and all the other and stronger immune system as well. So when we can keep things moving, and we can keep our body working, our cardiovascular system working, we can keep our blood pumping and flowing, then we're going to be healthier, and we're going to live longer as a result of that, right? We're going to just feel better. And so I think that's one way to do it, one way. And then especially as you start to get older, you battle with things like arthritis or any other like aches and pains and all those little things. So I think the more that we can do now as we lead up to that, then the less drastic those ailments are going to feel. And then we also have that as a tool when we feel those things as you get older. Like you have a way to respond to it that's not just like taking a bunch of ibuprofen or something like that.
Yeah, I've been on a mission about the whole aging process for a while now, but my dad just passed away June 14th in Palm Desert. We're having a celebration of life next week, actually, but he was 80, and they didn't do, what most parents, where they're not taking care of themselves, and they rely on doctors. And then he's on like 10 different medications. And it just,
Right.
I think a lot of that is just so sad when you think about
It
it's like
is.
you could still live another 10 years if you did this and this and this. But, my mom's 81 now, and you want your parents to thrive. And I wonder if like things for older parents or older adults, have you read any research when you're too old to do cold plunge?
I have not actually. I'm not sure. I mean, I'm sure there's an age where it might not make sense. Not an age. I'm sure there's a state of being, I should say, where it might not make sense because of the shock factor and stress that you're putting on your body. And I feel like at some point that could become extreme. But
Yeah.
but there's cold water immersion, which starts at roughly 55 degrees Fahrenheit. But there's also cool water immersion, which is a
I've
little bit
heard that.
warmer than that.
Yeah.
And there's a great benefits for that, especially for doing some of the longer duration at a slightly warmer temperature can be better for some of the athletic recovery protocols as well. So, yeah, I don't know. It's a good question. I'll have to
Maybe
report
have
back to
them
you on
do
that one.
the hot cold showers instead. But I just
Yeah,
listened to their friends at happy hour. Everyone's in Palm Desert and they're like, my arthritis and can't walk. And all you listen to
yeah,
the complaint, like, okay, that's all controllable, a
yeah,
lot of it. And that's why I'm always talking like, take control now because you're setting yourself up for your future self. So, anyways,
yep,
okay.
yep.
So, the cold plunge, if you're new to it, how do we do it? And let's talk about how to prepare, how to stack it. Do we take
Yep.
anything before, after supplements, heat, cold? Like, let's go into
Yeah.
the
Cool.
protocols.
Yeah, there's a lot of there's a lot of different ways that that we can, a lot of rabbit holes here. And one of the things that we built out for our customers and our community is we have like a back end community portal, like a platform that has a bunch of different challenges and protocols and science backed ways to use and interact with the tub, which is really cool because there's so many different things we can do there. So I think for beginners or just approaching the cold, I like to think of it in 3 chapters. So the first chapter is the pre-cooling, right? The pre-cold immersion, the pre-game. And then the second chapter is the actual cold immersion itself. And the third chapter is the post-cooling or the post-immersion. And it's really important to think about this too, because most people think that the cold tub is the hardest part, but I actually argue that it's when you get out of the cold tub that is the hardest part. And I'll tell you why in a second. But the pre-cooling is all about getting centered, getting relaxed, and getting in the right frame of mind for going in. And one thing that I've learned with the cold is that if you try to tough the cold out and be like, all right, hype yourself up, we're going to do this, let's go, you're going to lose. Like the cold's going to slap you silly and humble you very quickly. I've witnessed that many times.
I bet.
The approach to take with it, and surprisingly why women across the board from my completely subjective experience do better in the cold than men, is because the best way to approach the cold is by softening into it. It's meeting that resistance and it's relaxing into it, surrendering into it. So women that have given birth crush the cold tub. They absolutely crush it because they're familiar with that, especially with some of the breathing, similar to like Lamaze classes, right? There's some of that breathing that you do. So that's the first chapter.
No, I never had children. I couldn't have kids. So I'm not one of those.
Cool. But I'll tell you what, you're an endurance athlete and you're a woman. I think you're going to do great with this too. So and that's another thing, is that most of us we are way more strong than we think we are. We're way more capable because, again, like your body has that innate intelligence. The only thing you got to do is get out of your own way, because your body knows how to handle this. Like, we were built for this. We forget that we are ancient beings living in this modern world. Like, our hardware, our bodies are old. We're ancient, literally, like are so old. And it's not till so recently in human history that we have been in this digital age and we have been overstimulated in the mental world that we live in. So our body, like our ancestors, they didn't have heating in wintertime, right?
Yeah.
They were in the cold. They were in the tundra, and they did, and our bodies are adapted for that. We're built for that. Quite literally, we're built for that. So it's nice that we don't have that. Thank our ancestors for all the things they did to get us to where we're at now. But we're built for that, is the point. And so we can trust ourselves a bit more. And that's a big part of the cold, is building trust in your body, trusting yourself. And so that's the first stage, is just approaching it and being prepared to, okay, cool, we're going to release, we're going to be present, and notice any like adrenaline that starts to release even before you get in. It's a beautiful process, but of just noticing the intensity or how your mind is freaking out, or you feel cold before you've got in. That's just showing how powerful your mind is. So that first pre-cooling is about just kind of centering, taking a couple deep breaths, and then stepping in. And then we enter the phase 2, which is the actual immersion itself, that second chapter, so is going into the tub. Start whatever feels good, because for most people, it's going to take their breath away, right? When you first get in, you feel that, right? That like you can't catch your breath, or when, something was really cold, it literally takes your breath away. And that's our body's fight or flight sympathetic response. And that's anything that is inhales like that, gasps, that's our body alert, right?
Yeah.
And anything is exhale, sighing at the end of the day. That's all parasympathetic. That's rest and digest. That's our body. That's us and our nervous system of slowing down, relaxing, calming down. So when we first get in the cold, our body's going to go, right? It's going to go into that shock. And so really the work is in those first couple breaths, the first 30 seconds for a lot of people, of getting over that hump and getting in and taking a couple strong deep breaths, forcing that exhale out, because it feels like it can be hard to exhale, but you're feeling that like shock, push that breath out. Another one. And usually 3 solid deep breaths. Sometimes it's 1, sometimes it's 5, 10. After a couple of those deep breaths, you're going to begin to catch your breath and settle in. And then we want to go in through the nose. Long, slow exhales, and the slow, long exhales help us relax in that intensity. So we're going to just catch a rhythm with that breathing. A hack that I like focusing on too, the rhythm is inhale for 4 seconds, exhale for 8. It gives you something to focus on, and it also forces that longer exhale and takes your body into that parasympathetic. So that's the phase 2 part.
So you can actually go into parasympathetic when you're in that cold water?
You can. That's the beauty of it. And that's the practice, in my opinion, because when you can, in that acute stress and that real physical stress you're experiencing, when you can go into that parasympathetic, wow, like how beautiful is that? And that's where you see the results translate over. So that's the second phase. And then to round it out here, the third phase is when you get out. And most people, as soon as they get out, when it's time, or they're done and they get out, the first thing they do is like, okay, give me the towel, I'm freaking cold, right? And now your mind's out of it already. And so what happens when you do that is, like, you're going to have a lot of shivers that can linger, or it can be really sometimes it can be painful, especially if you're reacclimating to cold weather. So I'm going in a few days, I'm going back to Iceland for a retreat that I'm co-hosting. And so when we're getting out of the cold immersion, out of the rivers and the lakes there, we're adjusting into the cold air, into freezing temperatures, which is really difficult. It's a lot easier to go in the sun and be like, all right, sun, warm me up, bake me up here. But when you go back into cold, you really have to be present, and it can be painful when that warm blood and the cold blood mix. It can be pins and needles, a little stingy. Again, if you're in warm temperature, you don't really feel that, but in cold, you really feel that. And so it's important to stay present with that process, and you want to keep focusing on that breathing, and you want to move your legs a little bit. You can do like a horse squat, or some body weight squats, horse stance, to just get the blood flowing a little bit, until you feel like you're still in control of your breath, and then you can go towel off. So that's that third chapter that's really important to stay focused and present with, because that is where physiologically so much is happening in your body. And we think, okay, we're in the clear, we're done. But no, the process is still happening. So that's why I like to put emphasis on that third chapter, because you're still underway in the process.
That's interesting. So my mind goes to, how can you track that? Can I wear my Oura ring and see my heart rate variability score and my heart rate? Do you see measurements before and after? No, okay, this is making me change to be more.
You do. And so you'll see, and I wore a Whoop band, and whenever I'm like in training mode, I'll be wearing Whoop as well, or Oura ring. And what you'll see is, like, we've tracked like the real time, also with like an oximeter as well, pulsometer. And you track the real time of, like, when you first get in the tub, and even before, for a lot of people, the heart rate spikes, and you get in and it'll spike for the first 20, 30 seconds. And then you start to see, as soon as you catch your breath, that's the peak. When you get that first long exhale, then all of a sudden you just see it dive, and it dives down, which is so cool to see that. And then when you get out, maybe it spikes a little bit as you're getting out, and you're moving some blood flow, your heart rate will spike a bit. But then after that, it dips lower than the baseline that you were at before as well. So this is why it's also great to do, as you're winding down your day before rest as well, because it's kind of like pulling the plug, and you're like, okay, cool, we're done. Like, your body can feel a lot more relaxed. So I've seen, again, this is anecdotal, I'm not sure about studies around heart rate variability, but I've certainly seen increase in heart rate variability, among other things, with it. And I know other people have as well.
So can you wear a heart rate monitor strap, a chest strap?
Yeah, sure can.
Have you heard of Hanu Health? Hanu, Dr. J. Wiles.
What's
They're
it called?
in Hanu Health,
Hanu Health. No.
So they're in our area.
Okay.
And so I actually have the heart rate strap. I'm trying to get into a routine to measure heart rate variability, and it comes with breath work. So I need to connect you
Cool.
guys because they're over in Carlsbad too,
I
I
would,
think.
I would love, I'm looking at their site now. I would love to connect with them. We could do a little like
Yeah.
trial together. That would be
Yeah,
sweet.
that'd be so cool because I'm testing it out. It's not public yet. It's our
Got it.
beta testing right now. But
Real-time HR and HRV.
real-time
That's great.
HRV, and it has all the breath work on the app. So if we could connect that with
Great
how
idea.
I breathe in the tub, and someone's there beside you telling you how to breathe
Totally.
to figure out what works best for you as an individual to optimize your performance in the cold tub.
Love it. Yes, please. I would totally love that introduction. Thank you.
Yeah, that'd be cool. I know there's a lot of people in this area. I'm finding
Yeah.
so many companies are
We're in
Encinitas,
the-
Cardiff.
We're in the right spot for it, for sure.
Yeah.
For sure.
And then the question was also like sauna. Is it ideal to do the sauna afterwards if you are able to have a sauna?
Yeah, the sauna or a hot tub even unlocks a whole different suite of benefits with contrast, which is referred to as contrast therapy. So what contrast therapy is as I mentioned in the beginning of the podcast, the cold tub or cold water is vasoconstriction. So it's constricting your blood vessels. They're collapsing like that. And then the hot water or any heat exposure is vasodilation. So it's dilating. So it's opening up.
Yeah.
So going back and forth is great for a number of different reasons. One is you're literally doing the vasodilation, vasoconstriction. So it's like you're doing a massive workout for your whole arterial system, which wraps around the world a couple times, right? Like we have thousands and thousands of miles of arteries and veins in our body that are wrapped up. So the hot and cold going back and forth is great for that. And it makes going in the cold and staying in the cold a lot easier when you can go get warm again immediately after, and like you can kind of have some help in warming your body back up. And then when you're really hot, getting in cold water doesn't sound so bad anymore. I like to advise people to give themselves a few minutes to regulate before going. So like not going immediately, like don't bake in the sauna until you're like, okay, I can't take another breath, and then jump right into the cold. That can be that can be a lot on your body very quickly. That extreme change can get a little lightheaded with it. That can be a lot on your body. So I like to just recommend that you wait a couple minutes and then go in when you're going back and forth both ways. And there's something about that process as well, taking control of that, not relying on something else to do it for you. But that generally is why it's a beautiful thing. I love it. And you feel so good after doing a session of sauna, cold tub. We have a sauna set up here as well next to our cold tub in our office, and the sauna, cold tub back and forth is just, it's just, you feel so good. You just melt. You get the best sleep ever. It's such a great routine.
So fasted, is that best to do fasted before, or should you eat? Is there like have coffee before or a shot of whiskey? Is there any like supplements or nutritional therapy to enhance the process and then recovery afterwards?
That's a great question. One of the things that I've seen, so Dr. Andrew Huberman is, he's a great leader and thought leader in this space as well when it comes to cold exposure. He's got a great podcast when he talks about it.
2 hours long. It's great for my road trips to Palm Desert.
Exactly. Yeah, that one's full of amazing things. So I don't know if you remember in there, but he said that one of the things, so we have noradrenaline or norepinephrine spikes when you're in the cold tub. And if you do coffee 90 to 120 minutes after in a fasted state. So when you're in a fasted state, your norepinephrine is a little bit higher. And then when you drink coffee, it increases even a little bit more. So, and then when you go in the cold, it increases even more. So if you like kind of stack those in a certain way, so like going in a fasted state and 90 to 120 minutes after you drink coffee is when like it's at its peak. And then you go in the cold tub, you can experience like an elevated level. Maybe sensible to some people, maybe not. So that's like one little hack with it is coffee, experimenting with fasted state. I like to experiment with it. So there's nothing that I know top of mind that's like, okay, drink this bone broth after and you're going to feel great, or I would think that warm beverages or tea or coffee or some sort of hot beverage after a cold to heat up, to help heat up your core body temp would feel good and probably have some great benefits as well. So I follow what feels good like that.
Another company, Bonafide Provisions, down the road from you.
Bonafide Provisions. Okay.
They're the bone broth company. So other thing I was thinking of too, just to track metrics, is like a CGM, if you had that on to track your blood sugar. And if you had, like, I've been testing this company called BioSense with the breath test of my ketones, just similar to Lumen. And so it'd be interesting to, I'm going to come over and bring all my toys.
Let's do it. Let's do it. You'll be the guinea pig. We'll just test you on all the things.
That's what I love. Okay. So of course I knew I'd run out of time, as I said, but I think it's big for the breath work in it. How does the Wim Hof breathing tie in as your Wim Hof instructor? Is that what you're doing in the beginning or when you're sitting in there? Because it's more activating, stimulating.
Yeah. So you're doing breath work throughout the entire process, before, during, and after. And breath work is just bringing awareness to your breath and consciously breathing is how I define breath work, at least. And there's different, and breath work in general, if people listening probably are familiar with breath work, but breath work in general is, there's so many different modalities of breath work to help you shift your state. And you can do some exciting breath work that excites your system. A lot of, open mouth inhalations quickly. You can do some box breathing to help slow down your heart rate, and longer exhales, resonance breathing, in for 4, out for 8. You can do all these different types of breathing modalities.
So that's what's all in the Hanu Health app.
Oh, cool.
So
I can't wait to check that out.
I'm going to have to set up a time.
So as it relates to the cold, a lot of people like to pair the cold after doing like a breathing session or breathing journey. If you're doing like your focus on, cool, I'm going to go do breath work and then the cold tub after. It just pairs really well together, because after you do the breath work, you're in a very calm state. You're very in your body, which is great for going into the cold tub, is being in a very calm, in your body state. So it's a lot easier to do it that way. But then when you're actually in the cold, it's those long exhales that help you. That breath work of in through your nose, long, slow exhales. In for 4, out for 8. You can do box breathing in the tub as well. You don't want to be doing like any type of breathing like that in the tub, because anytime you're doing breathing like that, you can get lightheaded and risk passing out. And you don't want to do that around water. So you don't want to be doing any open mouth rapid inhalations in the tub. But then after as well, it's that long exhales breathing.
Yeah, we need to get a little seminar. We've got Bubs Naturals down the street. We've got Bonafide, and we've got all these different people. And there's the Brainwave place in Cardiff. Like, I'm thinking of collaborating everyone together.
Yeah, that's a cool event. That'd be
biohack event. So I'll have to come out there. Okay, so last bit, where can people learn more? Because we are running out of time, and I want to make sure we talk about the discount we're going to give people. The Low Carb Athlete is our code, and Edge Theory Labs. How can people look at buying one and testing it out or buying it?
Absolutely. So we have with the Low Carb Athlete discount code, you get $150 off plus free shipping as well.
That's good.
And you can purchase on our website, edgetheorylabs.com. Straightforward. Follow us on Instagram. I would say that's where we're most active in building our community over there. So we've got a rapidly growing following there, which is really amazing. So great community there. And we're posting everything, all of our updates and everything we're doing there on Instagram. So I would check us out there. That's at Edge Theory Labs. And feel free to reach out. My email is just my name, at edgetheorylabs.com, Joshua at edgetheorylabs.com. So feel free to reach out personally as well. And if you, if there's any other questions, can reach out or email in. And if you're in San Diego area, if you're in the Southern California, if you're in San Diego area and want to come check it out, reach out to us, shoot us a DM, shoot us an email, and we can schedule time to have you through our labs here in Carlsbad.
What about the Padres? They won last night. You need to send a bunch of them over there to have them.
I have to. I hate
take
to
them with them.
I hate to admit this, but we were at Petco Park a couple weeks ago delivering a tub to the San Francisco Giants, who purchased one when they were in town, and so we delivered it to them there. The Padres do not have the Edge tub yet, unfortunately.
They need to take it to Philly with them.
I think we got to go meet them out in Philly with it. That's what we got to do. So soon we'll get them soon.
Yeah, got to work on our connections. I know more in Seattle, but down here I'm newer at my connecting network. So eventually I'll get to know everybody.
I love it. I love it.
I'm the connector.
I can tell.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for your time today. I'm glad we can finally connect. And I just wanted to share the science and the why behind it. It's a little
Yeah.
more motivating when we know why.
I totally agree. Totally agree. So thank
Who
you so
wants
much
to
for
get
having
in
me.
cold? All
Yeah,
right.
exactly.
Thanks.